Well, as promised, we do have the co-founder and CEO of InMobi, Naveen Tewari, still with us on Startup Central. This is the Masterclass segment where he will share takeaways from his journey as an entrepreneur and what all startups, entrepreneurs watching this can take away from. Naveen, thank you so much for continuing the conversation with us. Of course, I'll go to the questions that we have from K-Tech Hub. Entrepreneurs have written in with their questions. Before that, I want to ask you, when you started off, really, you were a single founder, so to say, and you've stressed on the need that a startup, it helps to have multiple people in the founding team. What was really that stuck out to you in your journey?
Look, I think I always had few, more than me. So we had always with 3 founders to begin with, 4 founders actually to begin with, because I've always believed that start in a entrepreneur's journey. The issue is not about skills. It's not about it's a mind game, and especially in the first few years, you go through such very tough periods of time where every day seems like the last day, every moment seems like the end, and how do you come out of those time periods? It is in those time periods when you need your other co-founder to come and tap onto your shoulder to say it'll be fine, and you could do the same to him. And that is why you need co-founders, and that's why it's very important that you trust the co-founders that you have. And I've been very, very lucky to actually have co-founders to begin with, and even added a co-founder later on in our journey, almost 10 years later, because to me it's a mindset. It's not just because somebody joined early or not, it's a mindset, and I'm absolutely a big believer in having the co-founder mindset across the company.
And the role of mentors really on the journey, it could be an investor or even otherwise, especially at an early stage of the startup, there's a lot that they could also
Actually, irrespective of the stage, by the way, of the company, it's very critical to have people that you could go and talk to outside of the people that may be associated with you, right? And so talk to them and figure out what's working out, what's not working out. Be able to share your fears a little more openly, because every one of us are, no one has been trained to be running a company or creating a new space, figuring out a new technology. None of us have been, right? And so you're learning on the job, and then there are people who have done this in the past, who at best can tell you, where things have gone wrong. And so it's so much better to actually go talk to them, just listen to them a little bit, and understand how to solve for some of the problems, or at least deal with them, if not can't even solve for them.
Got it. Before you really started up your days of McKinsey, I think you were sort of part of the team that was building Reliance Infocom, so to say. Any particular experience that has stood out for you from those 2-3 years that you spent there, really?
I always say this, the reason I was able to start, one of the big reasons I was able to start was watching Mukesh Ambani in those very formative years of mine. I was an associate at McKinsey, watching, as part of that larger team, that, watching him on a daily basis, literally building Infocom. And it was fascinating. It was fascinating. And to me, that fascination with, and you could see somebody who was working extremely hard and, had the vision to change the world, and he was doing it. It was as simple as that. He was doing it. And it's like, well, if there was one thing I would want to do, I would want to do that. And so I've told him this on several occasions on what his role has been in
and I think you did mention somewhere that he still sort of remembered it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So would you suggest entrepreneurs to spend some time, if they have the option, or start up directly, really?
Look, if you can see some things where what you're trying to go ahead and do, and if you can spend time with people who can help you become better at it, you might as well spend a few years trying to do that. And then, look, it's very hard, so subjective. It's a calling at the end of the day, and if there is a calling, you got to go for it. And then you leave it to a lot of hard work and boatloads of luck.
Yeah. Boatloads of luck. You also sort of believe in luck. I think
absolutely.
We've seen Mr. Azim Premji talk about the factor that luck plays as well.
It's the most important thing, by the way. You could do everything that you need, but if it's hard work. Success is hard work meeting luck, and that's what it is. So the only job you could do is, the only thing you control is hard work. So you just keep doing it. and then hopefully you
Things fall in
succeed.
place.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, now let's go to the questions that entrepreneurs from K-Tech Hub here in Bengaluru have.
Hi, my name is Anna Dalia, and I'm the co-founder of Hyperbyte Technologies. My question is to Naveen Tewari. I wanted to know, so the general trend for startups is startup, raise funds for 4-5 years and make a successful exit. But my company being a bootstrap company, for which the trend is usually about 20 years, how do you suggest, does it make sense for my company to raise funds, maybe to accelerate that whole growth paradigm?
Well, I think Anurag, first of all, congratulations that you've been able to build a business by bootstrapping it, because what you've done is that you've not required to raise capital, which means you have bigger ownership. Now, I think the question you have to basically ask yourself is, if you get more capital, would this become a really much larger business by utilizing that capital? And if the answer to that is yes, please go ahead and raise the capital, because hopefully you want to build a larger business. But if the answer to that, raising capital, is not necessarily going to give you the boost that would change the trajectory of the company, then why go ahead and raise capital and dilute yourself? You might as well then build this out. It's harder because you can't hire at times, but grind it out, and hopefully you are coming out much better because of the ownership. And I think it's a choice that you have to make, because once you go down the path of raising capital, it actually has a very different trajectory to it in terms of things that you have to do, which is you have to keep raising for till you reach a certain level, because to go for an IPO, you cannot be a small company. You have to be a large enough company. So capital raising and not raising, if you have reached a certain stage at this point of time, you should be thoughtful about.
Hello, my name is Jayant, and I'm the founder of Socrates. My question to Naveen is regarding hiring the right talent. So we know that the first few employees set the culture for the rest of the company, but it's also true that for a very early organization, you may not have the resources to hire the right talent. So how do we strike the balance between ensuring that the culture is good, so you hire the best kind of employees, as well as compromising because you're beginning and you don't have the resources to get the best people? Thank you.
Yeah, look, I think when it comes to hiring in the early days, it's never going to be easy. By the way, the life of an entrepreneur is always is defined by all the constraints that he has to live in, right? And so therefore, in the early days, you don't have a brand, you don't have the capital, you still want the best of the people to come in. That's a challenge. And I think the only way you can get people, and the only kind of people you want, especially in the early days, are not those that are coming to you because they believe that you can pay them a lot. The ones that you want are the ones that can believe in your vision. Now, if you're not able to sell them a vision, then you have a bigger issue, because you're not really. If you can't sell your vision to people and then they can join you, they're not got a different problem to solve. But if you can sell a vision, and if you're getting few people, and by the way, not everybody will join in because they obviously have their own constraints in life, but even if you can get few people to join you because they believe in your vision, they're also going to stick around for much longer. So in the first few years, the best culture gets built because people who fundamentally believe in what you're trying to do come together. And I think that's why it's great to actually go out and maybe not even have a lot of capital in the beginning, because the right set of first 25 to 50 people will come and join you and will help you build something that will sustain for a much longer period of time.
Interesting. Also, the talent is, I think, always a tough issue, right? Is your early stage, late stage, also the churn that you're seeing. But you've spoken about how at InMobi you've been able to convince employees to stay longer and build that culture. So it's important to also build a culture quite early on.
Yeah, look, I think every entrepreneur, has all the right intent when it comes to culture, and most of them actually do a good job of it. And that's why people enjoy startups, by the way. And then comes a time when they don't enjoy the startup, because you start to become not a startup. The mindset changes from a startup to an enterprise. And I think focus on culture is not a question, not a debate that people have at boardrooms today. It's not believed to be an important area of focus. It's unfortunate. And maybe it doesn't happen because a lot of the people who sit on the boards of companies today are not people who have built companies. So therefore, those are not the right questions to ask in board meetings. But if entrepreneurs want to succeed, the thing that they have to really look after is their culture, because strategies will change, market shares will change, new products will come into the market, but what will stay are the same set of people who will drive you through those changes. And so if you want to build a long-term sustainable company, figure out yourself as an entrepreneur or as a CEO on what you need to do to build the right culture. And that, once built, stays for a very long period of time, because that's who you are.
And people are very integral to the culture,
Yeah.
so to say. Let's go to the next question from Pradeepa.
Hi, I'm Pratibha Nakin, and I have started a company called Asteria Softtech Private Limited. We are into product development. The biggest concern I see and I'm concerned about is growth. It's like we are all busy developing a product, and we are not sure how to reach the market for our product. So if we could get a guidance on that, would be great.
Look, Pradeepa, it's everyone's dilemma in life to say, what's the balance between the go-to-market and product creation? And there is no use of creating a product if you are not able to take it to the market. And as an entrepreneur, as someone who is leading the company, you have to figure out when you shift your focus from building the product to figuring out GTM. Obviously, you cannot do early GTM, because if the product is not ready and you go to the market without product being there, that's really bad. But if you have a great product and you're only refining that product and not figuring out taking it to the market, you're missing out on this, because there is never a perfect product, by the way. And so, as an entrepreneur, you have to essentially figure out when, by the way, you always have to be bifocal. And so, you have to figure out at what point of time you take on the task of figuring out the go-to-market. In fact, most companies in India don't succeed because they can't figure out go-to-market, and they're very inwardly focused at times, and therefore, I think, looking after, seeing what needs to be done in terms of the go-to-market is very important. Now, there are many ways in doing so, by the way. One could say, look, individually, you may not be the best person who feels excited about going out, but there is no excuse to you being not out there, right? So you have to be out there. Secondly, you can hire a few people who can take your product to the market. But still, having said all of this, there is no respite of the fact that you have to be yourself meeting the customers every day, several times in a day, because that's the only way, by the way, you're going to improve the cycle of improving your products also. So once you've created a base product, take it to the market as quickly as possible, come back and fix the product. But that cycle is important, because otherwise you're never building a product which is going to win the category.
Yeah, Mr. Naveen, this is Alok here. I'm from vsense.ai. It's a retail analytics startup here in Bangalore. What I really want to understand from you is how you built a tech culture with all the sales pressure that force you to move fast and break things and get the best talent to work in emerging fields, which is like AI, right? And which is quite shortens the talent pool.
Look, it's the tech culture can be built if you fundamentally believe that technology is the driver in your business. It's not, you just can't get, engineering talent and AI talent to come in and say, just do my work, and we have, like, your business has to be something which says, my business will succeed if engineering makes the decisions. And when engineering makes the decisions, product makes the decision, or data scientist makes the decision, the core decisions, those are very deep decisions. Now, at times, they are at loggerheads with the decision that the sales wants. And those are the times when you have to figure out which side you go to. And, depending on, what stage of the company you are in, if you could lean on the side of the engineering, product, and data sciences, you are actually promoting a culture of, engineering and product-led, because innovation is the only way for you to succeed. Now, at times, sales is always very right, because they're telling you what the market is actually listening, what the market is actually saying. So, ignoring that will mean that you're far from creating a good product. So, putting engineers in touch with sales is equally important, and that's when you are really kind of bringing these two entities together. That's when engineering-led innovation supporting sales in their short-term goals, and creating differentiation for long-term value creation actually starts to happen. So, you have to be very convinced that engineering will do the things which are right. At times, they cannot do things in a weekly or a monthly cycles, and that's where as a founder, as a CEO, you have to create the patience around the system to say, yes, engineering will do it, it'll do it better, will take 6 months, but we'll come out with a better answer.
Hey Naveen, this is Ashwini from Open Talk. InMobi has been one of the great success stories of our times, and at this juncture I would love to ask you specifically about your journey of building InMobi, and specifically focusing on the last 1 year of InMobi, where InMobi is not just a company about B2B or a specific ads platform. It has bifurcated into 3 or 4 much bigger content play and much bigger entities. Would love to know about how did you think from a founder perspective, where you started from one company which was growing so well and a global leader in a certain space, and then you could bifurcate that into multiple entities, each targeting a different segment and a different set of users. Would love to know and understand this from you, and would love to look at more advice and inspiration from you as we build Open Talk as well. Thank you.
Yeah, look, I think, yes, you're right. We have gone from a B2B SaaS business to a B2C business. We've now also, started a data business. I kind of think of this as in a more simplest way. I think people give too much credence to, hey, you're boxed in one area, and I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think, fundamentally, if you can put the customer at the center of a problem, we're solving a customer's problem. Now, be it a business customer, so we solve a B2B problem through software. End user problem is what we solve for Glance. We solve for it differently, and that's where we create Glance. It's a B2C product. When we look at True Factor, we are solving the problem for a data scientist, and we put the persona of data scientist in the center. So we actually think of it far more simply. We just put the customer gets a prime seat in our conversations, and in each one of our 3 businesses, by the way, if you see this, the persona of the customer is very clear to us. In the first business, it's the CMO. In the second business, is the end consumer. In the third business, is the chief data scientist. And as long as your persona is clear, you can actually create products for them, because the core of innovation doesn't really see, are you building this for enterprises or for consumers? It just sees, are you solving the right problem or not?
Got it. Also, Naveen, just want to understand, you were a very active angel investor, so to say. I think 30 plus companies. Have you toned down that pace of investments that you used to make in your personal capacity, really?
No, not really. I haven't toned it down. I haven't taken it up too much, but I do them at leisure. This is just I pay for learning because some of the smartest people are becoming entrepreneurs, and they create new companies, and they come and teach you what they're trying to do, and you learn.
What's your checklist for everyone watching and want to pitch to Naveen Tewari for an investment?
Look, I think it has to be technology oriented. It has to be a bold and a big idea. And that's just on the idea front, which is secondary to, how passionate you are about that business. And so the most important thing to me is, who is coming in, and, how passionate he is about or she is about solving a problem. And if he or she can solve for that problem, it's going to take a lot. It's never going to be easy. So irrespective of what the idea is, are you there who's not going to give up? And I think that's the only test I try to do, is to say, you're going to not give up, and the many ways to try and figure that out.
What's the best way to reach you? Are you active on emails? Is it LinkedIn? Yeah. Is it through the network of entrepreneurs that you really know?
We all live in this very, very highly connected world. There are so many ways to connect. I think if an entrepreneur wants to reach out, I know he or she has always reached out, and I try to respond, and at times I can't, but I think there are so many ways.
I think events are also a great access for entrepreneurs to just walk up and see what they have. All right, we'll end the segment with a quick rapid fire. Naveen, I hope you're rapid and your answers are fiery.
Yes.
What would you have been if not for an entrepreneur?
What would I have been, or what would I have wanted to be?
Wanted to be if
cricketer.
Not for. Interesting. New app on your mobile phone that you're hooked to?
Glance.
That's the founding businessman in you talking. A book that you're currently reading?
Hard Things About Hard Things is really good. I just recently read that. Open by Andre Agassi is pretty nice. I like that book. Satya's book I really enjoyed. So there are a few I am actually kind of picking up my reading. For many years I'd stopped it. I'm now trying to pick it up. I think it's a good habit, so I'm trying to pick it up.
All right.
Let's see.
An entrepreneur or a technocrat you admire?
Well, I love Jeff Bezos and what he has done. There's been a phenomenal, case of focused on customer, building a massive company, and building it through innovation. Look at their innovation. AWS is larger than Amazon.com,
True.
and that speaks volumes of the innovation that they have done. So it's I respect him a lot.
A productivity hack that's worked for you for the longest time?
What's a productivity hack, by the way?
Anything that sort of helps you organize yourself and get a lot more productive?
WhatsApp, like doing less emails, more WhatsApp, probably is becoming one of those. Second is I start early. That really helps. So 2 of them.
You're stress buster?
I don't get stressed.
For someone who's built a startup for the last 11 years.
Well, that's exactly why, because you enjoy this stuff, and why get stressed about it?
Lastly, a big mistake that you've learned from really over the course.
I think there was a time few years ago. So a few mistakes, right? By the way, the life of an entrepreneur is actually full of mistakes.
Lots of mistakes.
Yes. So a few of them. Let me just call out very quickly. I think several years ago, I think I focused on building a great culture, 4 years later than I should have. I think I should have focused on it far earlier, first. Second, I think I should have done a lot more acquisitions to scale the business 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And I think I did them again a few years later. Those are the 2 I would call out as things that I think I should have done a lot more aggressively earlier than I think I did.
Works well. I would have loved to ask you a lot more, but completely timed out on this edition. Thank you so much
Thank you
for joining. And thanks.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much.